See, Mitt Romney doesn't have any sort of more foreign policy experience than Mike Huckabee, does he?
Not a whole lot more, but he does at least seem to run a tight enough ship so that he would know about the NIE on Iran.
Bill?
Yeah, no, I think Gene is right. I mean, he may not. I don't know of any foreign policy experience that Mitt Romney brings to the table, but he's certainly curious enough to know what's going on today, and I'm sure he reads the headlines in the morning. Obviously, Mike Huckabee does not.
Well, today there was a question about whether Mitt Romney has been reading the right kind of history books or history books of his own making. There was Mitt Romney in his speech, and he was talking about the American sacrifice for liberty overseas. I want to play the soundbite and then get your reaction. Here it is.
Americans acknowledge that liberty is a gift of God, not an indulgence of government. No people in the No people in the history of the world have sacrificed as much for liberty.
No people in the history of the world have sacrificed as much for liberty as Americans? That's not right, is it, Bill?
No, it's not right, but it is. He was speaking, you know, the phrase for this is American exceptionalism, and you hear a lot of exaggeration as if we are the only people who ever experienced an act of terror, we're the only people who ever fought for liberty. It's not true. The French, the British, and a lot of others have done many sacrifices for liberty, but, you know, I'll excuse one historical error, I guess.
Well, we did call the Romney campaign and ask about this, and the response that we got from their spokesperson was, this was just Governor Romney's perspective. He was not offering a statement of fact. So it is my perspective, Bill, that you have the #1 radio talk show in America, and Eugene, it's my perspective that you have more Pulitzers than any other journalist in America. Even though that may not be a statement of fact, that's my perspective.
No, that is a statement of fact.
I'm going with your perspective, David. I love your perspective at all times.
Exactly. I buy it. I'll take it.
But back on this whole issue that we started the show with, and that is Mitt Romney and the whole sort of religion issue. Is this the end of it now? Now that Mitt Romney has spoken to the extent that he has about his Mormonism, even though he mentioned the word Mormon once, does this mean that is it? That there's no more need for another speech? That whether he gets evangelicals or doesn't get them, the issue is now off the table?
Well, I got to say, I don't think it is. I think it may be just the beginning of it. I think that the questions, similar questions, are going to be posed to other candidates, as Gene and I both agreed, certainly, and maybe #1 to Mike Huckabee. Quickly, David, one thing I think where Romney lost it is he didn't talk about people who have no faith at all, right? I mean, and I think sometimes we talk about religion rather than morality and the difference between right and wrong. People who have no faith, I believe, are as capable of knowing the difference between right and wrong and living a good and moral life as people with faith, and I think Romney missed a chance to say that today.
But is there a problem, Eugene, for Mitt Romney to somehow exclude atheists from this campaign, given that atheists really don't make up that much of the electorate, even in a general election?
Well, he's betting that it isn't, but I think if you really look at what he said, he essentially says, he essentially excludes people who don't have faith. And the problem with that is, you know, what is it faith by his standards? You know, can you have a little bit of faith, or do you have to have a lot of faith? It's very unclear. I don't think this is the end of it, because he did not speak to the concerns of the evangelicals who really have a problem with this Mormonism.
I'm not sure, though, I agree with you. I mean, I think that Mitt Romney, he's given a speech. He has already said over and over, look, I'm not going to, just because I supported abortion rights early on, now I've changed. I don't want people who are holier than thou to say, oh, I've supported pro-life longer than I have. I mean, it feels like he's sort of been down this path, and that he's at least given evangelicals and the media and voters really as much as he's going to give on this.
Well, I do think for Romney that this is the speech. I think he has done what he had to do. I don't think he's going to go back and give another speech. I don't think he's even going to answer the questions anymore. He'll say, read my speech. I just think some of the other candidates had better be prepared for the same question.